Welcome back to News in Focus. Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa is considering deploying the army to gang violence hotspots in South Africa, but warns that soldiers are not trained like police officers. He was speaking to journalists outside the ANC NEC Lekgotla over the weekend. Now, this follows after multiple incidents where alleged gang members have killed innocent residents. Joining me now to take this conversation forward, I'd like to welcome crime-fighting activist Hanif Loonat. Hanif, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and jazakallah so much for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam. It's only a pleasure to be on the show.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Hanif, you've obviously living in Cape Town. You've been in and around many of the areas, especially in Cape Town, where gang violence has become really that bad that the police and even probably the Metro Police of Cape Town cannot handle it. Are we at a last resort in terms of bringing the army into these areas?
Let's, without politicizing the issue, is it a positive implementation or is it a negative one? I cautiously support this deployment in the crime-riddled gang areas in the Western Cape. The deployment is a band-aid solution, but a necessary intervention. It's neither purely positive, nor is it purely negative. It depends on how long the deployment takes place. So it's important that the President stipulates a time period to the deployment. SANDF needs to support SEPs, and we know that SANDF is not trained to do policing in communities, nor are they allowed to do any investigations. But they can help the entities, the crime-fighting entities, with logistics, intelligence, roadblocks, cordon and search operations, and air support. And it also ensures public assurances, where public are assured that they are being safeguarded by the state via the different entities. Although we know that the deployment is something that isn't a permanent one, but is one that will bring resolve to the challenges we have in these areas. A visible SANDF presence can temporarily restore confidence and reduce fear and instability in communities that need the protection on a daily basis.
Hanif, there's something important that you mentioned there. The SANDF cannot do the work of the police. Now, of course, the SANDF cannot arrest somebody. So I think it begs the question, what would actually be the role of the SANDF? And I know obviously you're not part of the Defense Department or the Defense Ministry, but from your time being on the ground, what would be the basic, most important aspect that the SANDF would need to play on the ground?
If it's possible, let's work out the negative aspects, if it's okay with you, of the deployment, right? They have limited arresting powers. They can arrest, but in the presence of police. So they can't do an arrest, excluding the South African Police Service and the other law enforcement entities. They could be seen violating the rights of the community members. Now, why I say this is from my experience in the early 2000s, when we deployed the army in Hanover Park and Menenberg, when I was the chairperson of the Provincial Community Policing Board. We found that 2 rifles went missing and no investigations took place at the time. And we were confident that those 2 rifles were sold to gangsters by members of the SANDF. Now, we couldn't prove this. As they said, it was taken off them violently. A rifle is today, you can get, at that time, 10,000 rand for per rifle. Secondly, SANDF members sexually abuse members of the community, which complaints were brought forward. People were scared to put it on paper for obvious reasons. And we know that they knew that these SANDF members knew where they live. So that there could be repercussions if they had open cases. Now, that must be eliminated. We must make sure that we have a force that comes in with the sole purpose of protecting the community and not abusing the community. It's only a short-term impact. Remember, it's a Band-Aid involvement. It's there temporarily. The minute the SANDF leaves the area, the gangs come back reinforced and more energized. They could be more dangerous than they were before the deployment. In general, it exposes the criminal justice system. Remember, the deployment will show that the criminal justice system is failing our communities. And therefore, the president is resorting to the deployment. It is not good for the economy. Remember, people do not invest where an army is being deployed because of its weaknesses. It shows a thorough weakness in that field and that area. It can make communities feel occupied rather than being protected. It can become a constitutional and political risk if it fails in its deployment. Now let's look at the positives. It's an emergency stabilization of those communities that are heavily traumatized. The supporting role that the SANDF would give SEPS and the other law enforcement entities would be highly welcomed, because this would definitely reduce the crime activities within those areas. It would put a stipulated, the president needs to put a stipulated time to his deployment. Without that, we're going to have a unsure deployment that people will not know, because he can withdraw the SANDF within 24 hours.
Hanif, what would you say is the best? Hanif, what would you, being on the ground, and of course you were there as part of the community policing board 20 years ago. From your experience, what would you have as a recommendation in terms of the time frame for the army to be there in these areas?
I would say a minimum of 3 to 4 months deployment. This 1 month deployments don't work. Gangsters are aware of these 1 month deployments. They go into hiding, they go lull, and when they do come back, they really come back dangerous. And I've seen them come back with vengeance. In fact, this vengeance escalates into territory fights. It becomes extremely dangerous, and the police cannot protect the communities from such a reaction. Now, what I want to remind the president is that with this type of deployment, he can't just come with the army in there and keep SEPS under-resourced. We need to, at the same time, reduce the corruption within the criminal justice system. I can tell you, gangsters have contacts within the system. They pay guys huge money. Now, you know the drug trade in the Western Cape alone runs into billions. In fact, it is noted as the second highest income as a commodity in that part of the region. So with that type of money that's available, these guys are prepared to bribe the law enforcement entities extensively. So you can't come there and allow SEPS members who are corrupt to continue in their positions. We need to eliminate corruption within the criminal justice system. Now, remember, corruption is not only at SAPS level. It even runs at community crime activist levels, where we find that CPF members, neighborhood watch members, are infiltrated by gangsters. They represent gangsters at these forums. So they get information and then pass it on to the gang leaders, who then counter whatever plan that the South African Police Service and its partners come up with. And then corruption does not end there. It goes right up to correctional services within the prisons, where gangsters have representation, where the drug trade is greater within the boundaries of the prisons than it is on the outside. We've seen that over the past 30 years, how gangsters are allowed to run the cartels from within the prisons and outside have their members exceeding the boundaries of the sales of these commodities. Then you have
Hanif, I have to stop you there. I have to stop you there because I want to touch on the crime intelligence, and that's going to be our next talking point when we return from the break. News in Focus. We'll be back. Do stay tuned. Welcome back to News in Focus. Well, on the sidelines of that khotla, President Ramaphosa said that the police must be armed with good intelligence. Crime intelligence should be on site to know exactly who the wrongdoers are, and the other forces can come in to give support. Hanif, one of the challenges, and I guess both you and I and many South Africans have been keeping an eye on the Madlanga Commission, is how much the crime intelligence has been compromised. And this is again the concern, isn't it? That asking the police to rely on crime intelligence, especially in areas, and you've mentioned it, where gangsters have infiltrated many within crime intelligence, it makes this difficult, doesn't it? And adding the army to that, the army is not going to help in terms of crime intelligence. The army is just going to be there to try and find a way to make sure that this gang violence is mitigated.
Let's be honest. The army is just a force multiplying partner to the communities. But the fact is, in the lack of intelligence and the resources available to protect information that comes from the community, makes it very difficult for SAPS and for law enforcement entities to get information. And in the presence or in the absence of this information, we find it extremely difficult to oppose and to bring to book those that have been implementing the daily challenges that our communities face. So I am saying that we need to now ensure that we reinforce crime intelligence, because communities are at present extremely scared to come forth. You've seen how many people get killed outside the courts in Cape Town. We recently had 2 killings outside Athlone Police Station. We had a killing in Wynberg Police Station. We had a few in Delft. This actually puts fear into communities. Communities no longer want to come forward. I personally was victimized by gangsters. My vehicles were dealt with. My house was invaded by gangsters, where one evening I got up for Fajr Salah and I found all my lights on. My fridges were opened. My car's doors in my garage were widely open. The bonnets were left open. A warning to me to say that we were here. If you're not going to stop, we're going to come back and hurt you. So these are the aspects that really put fear into our communities. And they resist from coming forward with with information. And without information, I can assure you, we're not going to deal with the gang violence in the Western Cape. Because communities sit with information that's extremely vital. Communities know who are the shooters. Community knows who are the ones selling the drugs. They know who are the addicts. So communities play a vital role. And in fact, we lack socially. These gangsters have become the social suppliers of various departments in government to our communities. They make sure that the education fees of the community is paid. They make sure that food is dropped off at poverty-ridden homes. And that can't be allowed. We cannot see gangsters as becoming the government of the day. And as long as that happens, I can assure you, we're in for a hiding second to none.
Hanif, you've mentioned something important, that the ordinary citizen, including yourself, have information when it comes to gangsterism. But shouldn't the president maybe have a priority where let's protect the citizen, some sort of a whistleblower act? I know it's been discussed before when, of course, witness D was shot down outside his home, was supposed to testify at the Madlanga Commission. But then when you hear that argument, it really does not materialize or can't materialize, because at the end of the day, the gangsters still rule the roost. So are we on a hiding to nothing, even with the ordinary citizen wanting to come out with the information that could help SAPS, that could help law enforcement really deal with these gangsters?
I'm glad you raised the issue of Witness D. Now let's look at Witness D. He is one of many that got victimized and killed by those that want to protect their criminal activities. I can mention to you that on a daily basis, people are being killed because of the information they possess. Now, you must remember, within gangs, there are gangsters that want to walk away from gangsterism. And they get eliminated on a daily basis. Because once you become a gang member, for you to make a U-turn is extremely difficult. I would say 1 out of 100 survive the U-turn attitude that they adopt. So it's important that we protect the 99 that want to bring a change to the community by bringing information. Now, I saw after Witness D's elimination, I believe a lot of people have decided not to come forward. There are many that are sitting with information that will bring criminals to the courts of law. But unfortunately, it's not happening because of these murders that take place on innocent citizens that want to make a difference. So I believe that the president should rather concentrate on putting up or should I say, should resource witnesses who come forward by protecting them. Without the protection, people are not prepared. Just this weekend, I dealt with an issue in the Western Cape, in the city of Cape Town, where this person tells me 1.4 billion rand was paid illegally and corruptly to 2 individuals within the system, within the city of Cape Town. But they are scared to come up with the information because they know their lives are going to be in danger. So I am going to be raising this on their behalf. I've got the information, I've got the documents. Now, how do we eradicate crime if we can't protect these innocent people? Some of them not being innocent, who are part of the crime, but have decided to make a change to their lives. And I believe they should be given an opportunity. They should be given the protection. And that's where we're lacking. There is information out there. In fact, I know of information that were given to police by myself, and nothing came of it. The disrespect and the ignorance of these senior members of the policing community really makes me disillusioned, makes me tired. In fact, I can safely say that it contributed to my heart ailment that I experienced last year of February. I had to resign as a councillor, and I walked away from crime fighting. I've now relocated to Johannesburg for my own protection, but continue raising crime in the Western Cape. My heart is still in the Western Cape, and I believe that we can make that difference. The president needs to be serious.
Hanif,
I want to raise one important point here. That politicians are using crime to foster political agenda. Remember, in the Western Cape, as long as the people of color are kept drunk, merry, and killing each other, they forget that they should be running the city or the province itself in its majority. While they are drunk and merry and getting killed, they forget this important aspect in their lives. And what happens? The minority is taking advantage of it. So it's playing into their hands. They're encouraging the crime that takes place. As much as you read in the media that the city and the province is doing so much for crime prevention, I can assure you, all these are band-aid interventions. They're not serious. They are money spending, money pilfering, ensuring that the funds are used to benefit the political parties and not the communities.
Hanif,
I mean, they've come up with so many... I'm sorry?
Hanif, we have to close the show. Unfortunately, we are out of time. There was one question I wanted to get in, but unfortunately, we can keep that for another time. Absolute pleasure having you on. Jazakallah so much for joining us. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
That's Hanif Loonat, a crime-fighting activist, just talking to us about President Ramaphosa mulling deploying the army into crime-ridden areas. That's all we have here from Using Focus, from myself, for Hospital, and the rest of the team in Johannesburg. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.